Well, thank you so much for being here. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
My
You
pleasure.
taking your time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Thank you very much. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure.
About Schmidt. Yeah, isn't this great? I was like, whoa, kick
A
back.
little too relaxed. Okay.
We'll sit forward.
Okay.
So how did you come to the role in About Schmidt?
They came to me. They sent a script to my agent, Susan Smith, and we read it, and I immediately loved the screenplay. When you read something that wonderful, it just jumps off the page, and so then we began to talk about actually making the role happen. And another kind of interesting side story. This is so loud. Can we take this down just a little bit? Is there any way? Yeah, that'd be great. Another interesting side story is that I was actually at a memorial service for a friend who passed away, Don Devlin, and a lot of us were there, and I ran into Jack and Sandy Bressler and Tony Bill, a friend of mine, and we were all joking that probably more deals were done at Don's memorial service than the last, 20 years of his career. So we all thank Don for the success of About Schmidt, because we're just sure that he had a big hand in this. So. You've got to take it where you find it, right? I guess.
What was it that appealed to you about the character Helen? I mean, what did you find and first want to sink your hooks into?
The character, I guess, because she was so full of life, and she she's a dilettante, which I liked. She seemed human to me, I guess. She had a lot of different sides, and that always appeals to me. And I was, when we started working on it, I was concerned a little bit about Alexander and Jim's point of view about her, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't playing satire or playing the humor. I wanted to just create the human being that they, brought to the page, and then let the audience have fun with it.
How do you keep yourself in that kind of a role from, there must be sort of the urge to want to go over the top with her, and how do you find that balance?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you trust the director's eye. I mean, I always like to push a little bit, because I'd rather push too far and then pull back than not really go the distance. And I find that it's easy with film acting to maybe slip into that comforting place, of it feels real,
right,
which which actually I had an interesting discussion many years ago with Ulu Grossbard about this, and this was when I was doing a role in my first speaking role in a film, Straight Time, and we talked about the difference between being real and being natural, which I thought was really interesting. And he said that, a lot of people, I mean, there's some people who just have that ability to be natural in front of the camera, and they're themselves, and that's one gift. But to be real means being that character at every step of the character's development throughout the screenplay, and that's quite different than being natural. So the fact that you might not particularly feel comfortable at a moment while you're trying something, especially, is nothing to be concerned about. I always think you need to push yourself a little bit and then pull yourself back and kind of understand all the underpinnings and push things out of shape before you really bring it back to what the actual walking, talking person would be.
Well, what do you think Schmidt learned about his life from Helen? I mean, what?
Oh, from Roberta or from Helen?
I'm sorry.
Roberta?
Roberta. Sorry.
Okay.
I keep saying Helen.
I don't know. It's okay.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know either.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I don't know if he learned.
It was the sound man's fault.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know if Warren learned anything from Roberta. He didn't stay long enough in the jacuzzi to find out.
No, he didn't, did he? No, he didn't.
He left just as things were getting interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think that they're two completely different aspects of life. I mean, she's certainly full of life, and she makes no apologies for her arts and crafts.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And he's very repressed and withheld. And I was actually reading an article in the New York Times that Louis Bagley wrote over the weekend about how different the film was from the book, and how there's a character in the book by the name of Carrie, and with whom Schmidt actually has an affair, a very ripe physical affair that really opens him, you know. And I thought, why couldn't they have done that with Roberta, you know? But so anyway, so I don't know how much he's actually learned from her. I think he's horrified that he's probably going to have to spend the next 20 years of his life having holidays at that particular house in that particular neighborhood. So anyway, yeah.
I have to ask the question: how did you prepare yourself to get into that hot tub? I mean, it's such a courageous thing, I think, for anybody to have to take the clothes off in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And you did it just fearlessly.
Yeah. Well, I guess I figured Jack had seen a few women before, so.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
What the heck, right?
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah.
You know, what's one more? No, you know, it was fun, actually. I did have a lot of talks back and forth, actually emails back and forth with Alexander Payne, and that was kind of unusual, you know, talking about pubic hair and stuff like that in an email with someone you've never actually been introduced to, you know.
The glamour side of
Yeah, I
acting,
know. And
people
then there was the embarrassing moment at the hotel when he said, I'll come by and pick you up and take you to dinner, and he walks in the door, and there's this gorgeous young Greek man who reminded me of the first crush I ever had when I was 13 years old. Thought, oh my God, did he have to look like Tenny Alessandratus, you know? So, no, we had a lot of talks about, you know, what he wanted for the character and how it was written on the page and all of that. And so we both, you know, sort of negotiated back and forth, and we felt comfortable. And on the day, I actually looked through the camera because I wanted to see what it looked. I don't trust those guys. And so I said, okay, I want to look through the camera, and I got my standby to walk by. You know, okay, fix the lights this way or whatever. So they were very accommodating, and because I wanted it to be. I mean, Alexander wanted it to be sort of like Omar Sharif appearing out of the desert in Lawrence of Arabia, you know. So I felt like saying, well, then give me his costume, you know. But that's why he has Roberta appear at the end of this very long hallway, you know. And when I got to see it with an audience in New York, it was great because the minute Roberta hits the back of that hallway, people just start to groan because they just know what's going to happen. And so I felt that, and also I figured, you know, that they would play a lot of it on Jack's horrified face, you know, and that's what that moment was about, was these two completely different human beings just coming together in this uncomfortably intimate moment for Schmidt. And I felt that's what it was about, more than about the details of the nudity per se. So, and then I had a Cosmopolitan right before I did it.
Good idea.
But only one. Yes.
What was it like working with Jack Nicholson?
Well, you know, so many people have asked me that in the last few weeks, and I just don't know how to describe it. It's just really normal. And I was expecting, I guess, it to be, you know, thunderbolts and, I don't know, something happening. And he's just, especially with this character, I think he was very circumspect, and he was very much in character when we were working on the set. He wasn't uptight or tense, and he's very affable and open and generous, and just sort of like a normal working actor. I mean, I know it would be more fun if it was something, you know, wild, like he has to shoot up before he goes on or something. But he's just really, you know, kind of normal, you know, and, you know, he's really good to work with. I mean, he wasn't overtly generous or overtly withheld. He was just sort of like a hard-working actor, and so that when he would leave the house and I'd suddenly see him surrounded by people on the street, I go, oh yeah, that's Jack, you know. And it took a moment to kind of readjust, and but I didn't feel nervous with him.
No, didn't feel intimidated?
No, I mean, he's just, you do, I guess, stand a little taller, you know, and you want to, but we were really cooking, you know, especially in that first scene. It just felt like when everything's working, you know, and it just felt really good. And go ahead.
What kind of rehearsal process did you guys use in the film? Or did you rehearse much? I mean,
I don't think we rehearsed much. There was a read-through that I unfortunately wasn't able to go to because I was working somewhere else, and I always love those, and didn't get to go to that. And we rehearsed probably on the set with Alexander, before doing the take, and did a lot of homework, that kind of thing.
Sure.
So I don't remember a lot of rehearsals.
Mm-hmm. Do you like to watch your dailies? I mean, do you get involved in that, or would you just as soon wait till there's something to really look at?
It depends on the character for me. If it's somebody that's got a particular accent or a particular way of walking, or a particular, I don't know, something about them that I want to see if it's working, I like to watch. They didn't let me watch any for Misery, so which was probably just as well. Thanks. But I'm not, it doesn't bother me to watch them and then go back and look at the work and stuff, because for me it's just a way of looking. But I don't want to get sucked into that, either, because you can get kind of nuts about it, I understand. But but if it's something just in terms of looking at a look or a walk or an accent or something, and then seeing how that's working, then it can be helpful. But.
Do you often watch the completed film more than once, or once you see it, are you done with it? What's that like?
That's my agent over there laughing. Why are you laughing? It depends on if I like it or not. I mean, I didn't see Misery for like years and years and years. I saw it recently, and there were parts of it that I really hated and parts that I really liked. And so I don't know, I don't usually kind of, I find that you can't get the same thing watching your own work. It's
Right.
sort of like, I don't know what they call it. It's like part of the deal. You know what I mean? It's like you can't sort of get off on your own work.
Right. Can't suspend the belief or the
No,
reality
I
that's
don't know what
necessary to take it in.
I mean, sometimes, no, it just can't, I don't think.
Do you ever have the experience, though, where you watch yourself and you go, God, I was really good there. That was nice. That worked.
Yeah,
I mean, do you have that?
once I did. No, I mean, because you have really high standards for yourself, and then and there's like one scene that I liked, that I did, and then there's other stuff that I don't like, So, I mean, but I think film acting is sort of like putting a bucket in the river and pulling the water out. It's not the same water. It's it's moments frozen in time that have been put together, and it's always going to be kind of mechanical in a way. But
I'm going to grab a couple of member questions here, because we had some questions on Misery. So let's go to these. This is from John. It looks like John Lippow. How did you prepare for your role as Annie Wilkes in Misery, and can you describe your audition?
Yeah, well, let's see, my audition was with Rob Reiner in his office. This was when he ran Castle Rock, and he actually read with me, and we read several scenes and stuff, and then I think he gave me the part then. He had Andy come in, Andy Scheinman came in, and they talked a little bit, and I remember feeling very strong then, because I was coming fresh from the theater and my theater work, and that always, I think, makes you feel very confident, because the theater is the place, obviously everybody always says it's the actor's medium, and it's really where you have to come up against your own, it's like the temple of the demon or something. You have to go in and really, come up against your own limitations. Everything you don't know falls away really fast, and everything you've built stands underneath you, and you can, move on. And so I felt really good. I'd come in from doing a lot of theater, and so that felt really easy. Then it got more difficult for me, because I guess coming from the theater, I'm such a word person, and I had read the book many times, and I felt like, it needs to be like the book, the book this, the book this, the book. And finally Rob said, we're making the movie, not the book. So that was a big lesson that I had to learn, and to let go of a lot of that stuff, because I was into the whole, philosophy of Annie Wilkes and everything. Right. So you kind of have to figure that stuff doesn't translate, you know. So my sister, who lives here in Culver City, has been involved in teaching for many, many years, and she had a really interesting book about, I don't know if it was about deviant personalities or about sociopaths is what it was about. I mean, they were sort of like a timeline with, Charlie Manson on one end and Mother Teresa on the other. And what happens with, why, the book was an attempt to understand why sociopaths come into being. Is it because of their upbringing? What is it about that upbringing? And what are the characteristics of a sociopath? And so I learned all of this stuff from this wonderful book about how charming they are, and how quick they are, and how, all these different things that I wanted to put into Annie. And also with Rob, he had known people, he described, and I can't remember who it was, playing tennis with somebody who was really charming, and the minute they were losing, they would just like psych out, Yeah. And it was like really scary for him, and he wanted to put that on film. And so for so for both of us, we wanted to make it really specific, because we didn't want to make her just generally nuts, because that never really works. And so there were things that we worked out as to what makes Annie, go off, and what in her life when she loses control of things and the penguins turn the wrong way, and stuff like that. And so that was stuff that we did. And so in part of my work in New York, working on a woman who was a suicide, that kind of helped at a couple of moments, and so it was good. And I stayed on set. That's the other thing that was different about Misery, because it was my first big role that I played in a film, and it's really lonely out there in the trailer. I just thought, why am I in this little metal box out here on the street? And everybody else is having fun inside, and so. And I would stay on the set in between shots, and I learned a lot about filmmaking that way. And also Rob by then had assembled such a wonderful crew of people. I got to know them, and Barry Sonnenfeld was our DP. That was his last job. Job as a cinematographer, and then he went on, of course, to be a big director. He hasn't given me a job, but that's okay. That's
not
okay.
A problem. Yeah,
not a problem yet.
Yeah,
we should probably give him a call tomorrow. Because we don't have anything lined up right now, do we? Okay, I didn't think so. Okay.
Did you have to, or did you get to read with James Caan as a part of the audition process?
No. They couldn't find anybody who wanted to do it for a long time. The guys didn't want to do it because they didn't want to appear victims,
right.
So a lot of guys turned it down, and Jimmy, was on kind of a bad streak, and so he said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And
feeling a little victimized these days.
And then he would, come in and say, "Oh, why don't I try being in bed today?" So it was like really, he hates to rehearse, and he's very physically active and everything. So I think he put a lot of that into the performance, and he's a really good actor. So it was fun working with him.
Here's a question from Edwin McCready. Was it cathartic for you when you broke James Caan's ankles in Misery? And how did they actually have you do it? What did you hit? How did that work?
No, it was cathartic for me when I rammed the VW in fried green tomatoes.
Oh,
But hitting Jimmy's ankles was more like difficult. It was difficult because he had, of course, his legs. He bent his knees and had his legs in the mattress, and they had these wonderful fake legs, and then they had this filament, and you had to hit it just the right way, and so it was time consuming, and everybody was like pulling their hair out because it wasn't working, and they turn on you just like that, but we got it, and it still makes me sick to my stomach when I see it.
Oh, it's so.
Yeah, it's awful.
Tough to watch.
Yeah. Hasn't done much for my date life either, I'll tell you that.
Coming out to my tool shed.
It's not gonna work. I keep expecting Ace Hardware to give me one of their,
there you go.
spokesperson
that
jobs.
That would be a natural, wouldn't it?
Yeah. We might try calling them tomorrow, Susan. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if it would do much for sales, but yeah, in a pinch. Okay.
You started on stage, and you still occasionally go back there. What is it?
No, I don't go back there. I haven't been back there in years and years and years. What?
Well, you talked a little bit about the value of doing it, but what's the difference, and what do you get from stage that you can't get from a film job?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm nervous to go back because, you get used to working in a different medium, and film is like mosaics, and it's little pieces of things, and I'm wondering if if I did go back to the theater, if it would be really hard and I would feel really fragmented because I've learned how to do that, or would it be hard for me to remember lines and stuff because I've gotten, used to working in pieces instead of a whole thing. And I mean, I think it's a real workout. It's the actor's gym, the theater is. I mean, not that film isn't, it's difficult too. And I'm glad that I had my theater background because it's easier to break the form once you have the form. And so I think that kind of training has really helped me make the transition. So I don't know. What was your question?
I don't remember.
I don't either. I think I'd like to go back. I'd like to maybe do a musical or something. I think that would be fun.
That'd be great.
But
any role you'd love to play?
I don't know. I don't know. I never have thought about things in those terms.
Yeah.
I feel like parts just kind of come, and at certain times for certain reasons, and so one follows that kind of path.
When you were first starting out, did you have to have some day jobs along the way? And what kind of jobs did you have?
Oh yeah. Let's see, I waited tables. I worked at the Museum of Modern Art. I started in their catalog department and then ended up in their payroll department. And then a couple of years went by and they were asking if I was interested in, studying accounting. And I thought, oh my God, I've made a wrong turn somewhere. They were very nice people. And I thought, and in 2 days I packed everything up and moved back home because I thought, I can't quite figure this out. And I've done a lot of different little jobs like that, and trying to make ends meet. And
any job that while you were doing it, you went, I gotta get out, there's gotta be something better than this.
I think maybe the American Can Company or something like that. I was working, it's hard, I know, working 9 to 5, doing something that isn't your idea.
Right.
It wasn't your idea, somebody else's idea. And so it's hard, I know. Yeah. It is hard.
How did you keep the faith? How did you keep yourself engaged?
I didn't keep the faith. I lost faith. I lost faith many, many, many times, and sometimes I still lose faith. Yeah.
And how do you recover? What
I don't know. I don't know.
They're laughing at this, but I have a sense that that's really truthful.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, seriously, I mean, maybe laughing. Maybe that's what helps you keep the faith. Is that, you kind of have to laugh at the absurdity of it. And I mean, it was really wild the other night at the Golden Globes. I can share all of this with you because I think Meryl would probably laugh too. But when she won for adaptation, it was like somebody dumped a big corpse on our table for about an hour. And then she moved over to the Hours table, which was right next to ours. And I swear to God, there was this ethereal light on her. And I thought, I feel like Albert Brooks in Defending Your Life. I swear to God, So there are moments when you just think, there you go. So.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have that problem, I guess, I was looking at the grid to see where my light was, it's not there. But is this fixed? You don't know. But no, it was, so you're learning stuff every day, because with Misery, I was out of the country working, so I didn't have any of that hoopla. And then, with Primary Colors, nobody saw the fucking movie. So this is kind of like the first time I've been through it, with the e-ticket, and it's pretty interesting. It's very, very. It's probably why I'm talking like Scorsese right now. He talks this fast, doesn't he? Yeah. So anyway, what was the question?
We're moving right along. We're just, we're going all over the place here.
I mean, if you have to lose to somebody,
Well, that's not a bad
right.
thing.
Okay,
Yeah, coming second too. How tough is it to put that game face on when they put the camera on you after you've lost?
That's acting, baby.
Oh, yeah.
That's acting.
I always thought that they should give you the opportunity, accepting the defeat so that you don't have to really be there and do it.
Right. Next time, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, we're jumping all over the place here, but let's go back a little
bit. It's
life, How did you train? What kind of training did you have? And how important is it to an actor to be trained?
I don't know, because a lot of the kids coming up, some of them now aren't trained and they're really terrific, they're spontaneous, but then I look at somebody like Benicio del Toro, who he looks incredibly, spontaneous when he does his work, but you know he really trained hard with Stella and all those people. And I love that because I guess it validates my whole kind of thing. I have this quote that's my favorite that Louis Pasteur said, "Chance favors the prepared mind," and I feel like that's what actors do, you know, is that you work really, really hard to make it look really, really easy. And I think that the only way to be consistently that way is to have the training that bolsters you up. I was really lucky in that a school that I picked, just out of the blue, I grew up in Memphis and I picked a school named Southern Methodist University, and they any little alma maters there. And when I went there, it was like most university theaters in that it was, it was a university theater. But they had these amazing professors there at the time who really believed in the craft of acting and directing and all of that. And they had the Meadows School, which gave them a lot of money. And by the time I left, it had become a conservatory, which really, for me, it made me hold my head up because you had adults who were saying, it's going to take you 15 years to do this. Just like if you were going to be a lawyer or a doctor, you have to develop the craft, you have to develop the clientele. And so when somebody tells you that when you're that age, you think, okay, they're taking me seriously here and I can really make this happen. And I was very fortunate to have that. And it was a classical training. Graduated a little bit early, so I wasn't able to, I did the Greeks, I didn't get as far as the, whatever. But so then I went to New York and I studied the Meissner technique with a man named, Bill Esper.
There you go.
And because I was going to go, that was the first year that they had the acting program at Juilliard. But that just sort of seemed like I wasn't ready to get back under that kind of yoke again. And so I went with Bill and I studied a few months with him. And that was kind of good for me because that helped me break down some of the classical stuff that I've been doing and just really learn how to listen, and just really watch the other actor. And years later, working with people like Jessica Tandy and all these, they really know how to listen, and you get, and it's true, when you're working with somebody like that, you get all your performance from that person. And so that's the training I had. And then my work became my training in New York, working in plays off Broadway. And I was lucky, again, timing-wise, to be there when everybody said the theater was dead. And we were actually doing plays in these old burlesque houses on 42nd Street. We did Vanities there, and there was a lot going on, really, in the sort of grassroots theater there in New York. And it was a way, that off-Broadway scene was really a way for young actors to come in and really just do the work. And sometimes they could convince agents to come and see them, and then they'd get a leg up, or the play would get some attention, and it would move on and stuff. And unfortunately, the union got very. I'm a union person, but in this case, the union got involved, and there were so many rules and letters and stuff that, unfortunately, I'm sure the union wanted to make it better for everybody, but unfortunately, in that case, it just made things more difficult, and you had to be a name to work off Broadway because they didn't want to have to pay people off, when they moved up to Broadway and stuff. So I'm making some generalizations here, but it got tougher. It was easier when I got there, and then it got tougher, and which is unfortunate. So.
How did you get involved in Frankie and Johnny and the Claire de Lune?
That was, thank you. That was actually written for me, for Terrence McNally wrote it for F. Murray Abraham and myself, and Lynn Meadows put it on at the Manhattan Theater Club. And so that's how we got involved. And
it seemed so wrong the way that they cast that film, and it seemed to come back to haunt them at the box office, I suppose. Did you fight to get that role, and did it just not happen?
No, because I just kind of, for two reasons, I kind of feel like it's not mine.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong to me.
But you created it. It feels.
No, I didn't create it. Terrence created it.
Well, yeah.
There's a difference. I mean, I learned early on, with Vanities, when you have friends who write things, that it really is theirs. And that, you're an interpretive artist, you're first chair violinist, you come in and you do the part. And I also feel that just as I don't want to be limited by my looks, neither does Michelle Pfeiffer.
Sure.
And she wants to be able to
Yeah.
play,
That's really cool.
you know, roles that are different. I mean, look at her work in, you know, White Oleander, and you know, you look at actors like Brad Pitt and Leo and all these people who are so gorgeous, and you just think, God, don't type them.
Yeah.
You know, don't
Yeah.
make them just do the leading man, leading lady thing. Let them do some stuff that's different, you know. And it's so easy for us to just say, oh no, but I want to see them, you know, and as
what they do,
themselves, you
yeah.
know. I don't want to see them different. And I for one, want to see them play those roles that we don't think of them as, you know. So.
Yeah. Let's go to a couple other questions here. Okay, this is from Lisa Frank. How do you handle a situation with a director when he really wants you to do something his way, but you strongly believe your idea is better?
Oh, let's see. I try to do it his way. I try, but I also try to do my stuff too, I guess. I try to say, well, look, let's do it. Let me show you what I mean, or and then he or she will talk back to me about, well, that's not that, you know, that means this. You know, we can get in a big fight about it, but I just guess it's all a collaboration, you know. And ultimately, I try to do what the director wants me to do, and I don't think I've ever really run into a situation where I really totally disagree, you know, with someone about how to go about playing something. And sometimes it's semantics. You know, I find that if you're playing it and you're doing it the truthful way, you kind of end up meaning the same thing, and you'll find yourself going, but I thought you, but I, you know, and it's you know. I mean, Tom Moore and I had a big fight about how to play that character in Night Mother early on, you know, and he was right. And I've learned since then, you know, that you need to kind of open your eyes a little bit and look at it from other people's points of view. And the other thing I feel too is that I think early on in my career I got really precious about stuff, you know, and that it's a craft, so you can kind of push things out and try things and really, you know, don't be so precious about it. You can, you know, fall on your face and try things, and that's what I guess after being involved with all of this for about 15 years, and then Hob was right when we were as good. It was about 15, 20 years when I really felt I had the craft underneath me solidly. And the difference in who I was as a performer then was that, okay, let's try the entrance this way. Okay, and I remembered who I was at the beginning, which was somebody who was even afraid to begin the monologue. You're afraid to open your mouth. You're afraid you're going to make a mistake. You're afraid to, you know, and it's like, you know, Charlie Manson. And so if there's a little of Charlie Manson in, you know, what you're doing, you know, and just be really risky and just throw yourself off the cliff, you might find some things that you wouldn't have if you're afraid of making a mistake.
Right. Let's turn that question around. As a director, how would you handle a situation if an actor said, God, this just doesn't feel right. Can we try something different here?
Oh yeah, I mean, because especially in film, I mean, you can say, why don't you make this take yours, and then, you know, I think, you know, then try giving me that, and sometimes I just hound them. I do.
Break them down.
Yeah, I do. I just hound them sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes I try to, mainly as a director, I've worked a lot on 6 Feet Under. I've been really fortunate to work with them. And they are all such well-trained actors, and they're not precious about things, and they're willing to try things. And I think it must be very difficult to have a role that you have to protect episode after episode with all these different crazy directors who come in. And so I try, one thing I do is I sit behind the camera because I don't like looking at people through a TV, you know. And I'm finding that when I'm there, if things are going, that I can be there to help or to stay out of the way. I can tell better if I'm right there in the best seat in the house, you know, so to speak. But I don't want to fight, but I mean, you know, sometimes you just, you know, I can remember grabbing Sam Shepard by the jacket and pulling him back in the door and saying, "Talk to me." Because we were going through a particular scene and he was having problems with it and I couldn't quite understand what he was talking about, and so we wanted to, work it out. And I just I guess I'm like a terrier, Once I get one tooth around somebody's ankle, I just don't,
Yeah.
So, but I also try not to wear somebody out at the same time, because you want to make them feel. And I guess the thing that I try to do as a director is never to lie to an actor.
See, I was just going to ask you that. Do you ever trick people into things? Do you try to, I
think
know
that's
directors-
insulting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like that. To me, that just tells me that they don't think I can do it with my imagination. If they have to trick me into doing something, I think that's kind of,
Do you think being an actor turned director gives you a leg up to be able to communicate more effectively with the actors? Because I know everybody has run into directors who just can't seem to articulate what they're after.
Yeah, a lot of them know how to work the camera.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm still learning about, but sometimes maybe, and I think sometimes I can get too conceptual. I'm trying to learn how to just distill it down to what do I want here, What am I doing?
Right.
I find, like with younger directors, when I'm working, I say, well, okay, why am I coming in the room? And they haven't thought about it. Or somebody asked me that on the set the other day when I was directing for 6 Feet Under, and they said, why am I? I went, oh shit, I didn't think. I forgot that part. And I have to realize that, when you're directing, that it's like working with Mike Nichols. You realize he's done all of that stuff.
Right.
He's been through all of those things by the time you get to the set. And there's a comfort in knowing that he's sort of, gone through all of that with his machete and broken through for you, and that it doesn't feel so cold. It doesn't feel so lonely. I'm talking conceptually now. I don't know. But anyway, next question.
Next question. Here we go.
Sorry.
Kathy Griffin asks, how much of your success in the business do you attribute to luck, and how much do you attribute to your own efforts? If you hadn't had the right break at the right time, what would you be?
Well, it's funny, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
There you go.
I swear.
Practice.
But I know I've been lucky. I do know I've been lucky, and being in the right place at the right time. Being in a play with Elizabeth McGovern, and Rob Reiner came to see it. And they were dating, and so that was cool. And so all of that stuff, but also being ready for it, is part of it too, and feeling at that moment that I was ready, to up to the task, not that you're holding on by your bare knuckles, but that you're ready to walk out there and do it. I remember working with Bradley Whitford, who's been so wonderful on The West Wing, and I saw him briefly the other night, and I remember him. We were doing Curse of the Starving Class in New York, and Bill Pullman had gone on to something else, and Bradley, who was fresh out of Juilliard, and came in, to take over Bill's part, and just walked out there with such, presence and aplomb, and like he belonged on the stage, which he did. And I was like, geez Louise, this kid is really, he's got it, And that sense of owning where you are, which sometimes is hard for us to do as actors. But
the second part of this question is, what would you be doing if you weren't an actor? Ever thought about that?
Yeah. Lately, I've been spending time doing other things. I've been learning how to speak French, and I've been reading a lot. And I'd like, if I could, I would go back to school, I think, and learn all those things that I didn't take while I was learning how to be an actor. I'm very curious about other things, and what I would do to make a living, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I would move to a small town and maybe wait tables again or something like that. But but I'm very curious about a lot of things, and sometimes I think about writing or doing. Lately I've sort of made a list of the things that I want to do, and I've sort of put them in a pipe and smoked them. I really tried to do these different things that I say I've been interested in to see if I really am interested, or I just want to talk to people at cocktail parties about something other than acting. So, and so that's what I've been doing. Just trying different things. But I know that's not answering her question. I don't know. what I would really do, I guess I'd just have to find a job. You know, I'd have to find a, and I may have to soon, right? Yeah. So, anybody, if there are any auditions anybody's going on tomorrow, they could, if there's anything that's right for me, if anybody could let me know later afterwards.
You know what? This is becoming a running gag here, but I'm really curious. I mean, how bad does the anxiety get for somebody on your stature when you haven't worked for a while?
Truthfully, I made a deal with myself that I wasn't going to worry about money and I wasn't going to worry about where the next job came from when I first started this, because I could see other actors around me like 3 weeks before the show closed, wandering around.
I'm almost out of a job.
What am I going to do? And I just thought, God, they're missing the whole last 3 weeks because they're so worried. They're like here or somewhere. I wanted to just stay in the moment, and it's not that. I mean, I do get concerned because I think the business has changed a lot in the last few years, certainly, and it's gotten to, in my opinion, it seems a little bit sort of like the Oklahoma land rush, It's very just desperate, people are really working really hard. And in the last couple of years, certainly with the strikes that we thought were going to happen and things being banked and then 9/11, I mean, I didn't work for 9 months last year, which was the longest I've been out of work, knock wood. Is there any wood?
No.
Anyway.
In my head, but that's
So that was, I'm glad I was able to afford to take that time to do other things that I was interested in doing. And so I'm very lucky in that way. And I don't know, I worry sometimes because I'm older, certainly, and Hollywood, up to this point, hasn't particularly embraced women of this age. And so I'm looking forward to maybe seeing that will change with actresses of my caliber, that they're going to be writing things for us, that there will be jobs for us to do. It's like Nicole said so beautifully the other night, we're really very interesting people, and hopefully this will be, something that people will write us in for. So I do worry about it. I don't lose sleep over it because I figure, I mean, you can only do so much, and hopefully the next thing will come along.
Out. Yeah. This question from Britt Chichester. When you first began, did you ever lie on your resume?
No.
Is that?
Maybe my weight. I was 125 for a long time. No, because, it's a small world and people know, and you don't have anything to back it up with. And and also I felt like I was, even from the beginning, and I know things have changed and things have gotten more difficult, but I tried to work with projects that I really was interested in and that I was proud to be in, instead of just doing it just to be doing something. I always think it's hard to just kind of get it up for something you're not really interested in, Right. So. Sorry about that.
What's the craziest audition you've ever had to do?
I think I remember walking to an audition in New York off of 8th Avenue. It was very, very, very early in the morning, and going upstairs and screaming or something and then just leaving. And I thought, this is so weird. This whole thing that we do is so weird.
Yeah.
But that was weird.
Do you remember what it was for?
I can't remember. It was just very weird.
Did you ever go out on commercial auditions? Because those get very strange.
I can't do those. Yeah. I have never been able to do those. It's like this.
Well, True Value, though. We're going to get that,
I know. Well, no, Ace Hardware.
Oh, Ace Hardware.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
No, I know. I remember I was rooming with my friend Jennifer, who now has been a wonderful bookbinder for years and years. But I remember when we were sharing an apartment in New York, she came in from a commercial audition, and she was supposed to be for sanitary pads or something like that. And she had some kind of a line, and finally they said to her, "Miss Justin, we're trying to sell these." Because her line was, "Did these really work?" So she was just about as good at it as I am. So I remember doing one where they had Raisin Bran or something like that. So of course they have the empty bowl and the box, and all the stuff. And I poured the imaginary Raisin Bran. I put the milk on, and I reached for the sugar, and the guy said, "You never put sugar on Raisin Bran."
No.
That was it for me, baby. I was out. I thought, that's it. I give up. Wowee.
Do you remember what your first Screen Actors Guild job was?
Yes. Straight Time with Dustin Hoffman. Yeah. Yeah, because I think Milos did something creative with the union with taking off, as I recall. But, yeah. But, yes.
How scary was that for you? I mean, you know.
Oh, it was scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really scary. It was very scary. I just remember being in a house somewhere in LA, and all I had, I was in this little back porch that had ostensibly a washer and dryer, but there's nothing in there. I mean, and all I had to do was go to the door and say hello, and it was, pretty many takes, a lot of takes, and it was, it was different, for me, and I thought, oh, I'll never get this, I'll never figure it out, and so, you
got used to it, though,
You get
didn't you?
used to it, but the weird thing is, of course, is that with film, you don't get to do it the next day and the next, and there's stuff I want to go back and redo, and you can. It just lasts forever, It's true. I'm serious. There's stuff you can go, oh, God, why did I do it like that? So.
Let me see, where is it? Here it is. Yep, this is the one I wanted. This is from Mark Bosley. Have you ever turned down a role and regretted it later? If so, what was that role?
No.
Just that easy. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on. I thought that was going to be such a good question, but you just never know.
No, I never turned down a role that I desperately wanted. No. I mean, I never got offered roles that I desperately wanted. But we won't go into those.
Okay, yeah, that takes us to the dark place.
That does.
Yeah, the other side of that scale that we
Yeah.
don't want to go to.
We're in Meryl's trailer. Just kidding, just kidding. Okay.
Carla Renata asks, what advice do you have for women late in life beginning an acting career in film and TV after having a lot of experience in theater and commercials?
I guess I don't. Look at it as a learning experience, I guess. Try not to take any of it seriously, and just put yourself out there, because a lot of times it's about a look or a sense that they're getting from you as a person, and especially in film. She's going into
TV and film.
And
She's got experience.
Just pull your girdle up and go on in there, and just give it a shot, because you don't know what they're looking for, and don't get into a whole lot of head trip. Oh, I don't know how to do this, and I haven't done that, and these are all, because that's all a waste of time. Just walk on in there and be a human being and be lovely and see what happens.
There you go. Patty Allison asks, what's some advice for a plus-sized working actress in this size 5 town? There are a lot of these questions in there.
Yeah.
A lot of these kind of questions in there.
Well, I just think that do the work. I always felt, because I never was a size 5, and I always felt that if I did the work and if I was really great, they would come to me. And I know that sounds like Pollyanna, but I'm sure I've lost things because I wasn't size 5, or I don't get the call because I'm not size 5. But I do think things may be changing a little bit in that direction. I hope they are. And again, I just think you need to work on the work, and the only thing that I personally find limiting about weight is that if you're not flexible enough to do the work. And I've, in the recent year and a half, I've been doing yoga, and I know it doesn't look like I've been doing yoga, but actually I have. It makes me very calm.
Yeah.
And no, actually it's flexibility, and you want to, I want to be able to make my body into somebody else's body. So, and it might be another, over 5 body, but that kind of work you can do on yourself so that you feel good and flexible, and you feel like if you carry yourself well, and that's what I think yoga helped me do, is carry myself in a way that I felt comfortable with. Then you're going to bring that in. I mean, look at Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Queen Latifah? I mean, there is a woman who's gorgeous, who knows how to carry herself, and you don't even think about anything else. And so I think that's a good kind of way to be.
Great. This is from Donna Jones. First of all, she says, you are an amazing talent and an inspiration to me.
Thank you.
She would like to know, is there an event or a person that gave you inspiration to become an actor?
I don't know. I think I always wanted to be an actor. I don't know why. I think there are people that continue to inspire me along the way, which I'm really finding important. Because you do lose faith, and you do get tired, and the business side of it brings you down. And so their performances, I like to watch the films that come out every year, and they're wonderful performances. Like, I mean, Meryl is one of my favorites. I love to watch her work, and her work in The Hours is exquisite. And I like to watch Pacino work, and I like to, I love Derek Luke, this new young actor that was in Antoine Fisher. And I love to see these new, fresh faces and people that inspire me. When I see something that really lifts you up, it lifts me too, and it makes me feel good about what I do. And so I look to others in my craft to inspire me and keep me fired up to do the good work. So I know, it's hard, but you want to, when it's great, and you want to keep that coming into your life, and any way you can get it.
Do other artistic mediums feed your creative side? I mean, do you like going to art galleries and listening to music?
Yes, that's part of all of the stuff that I've done in the last few years for myself, because I realized I was doing a lot of interior stuff and playing people and pretending to be somebody else 90% of the time, and I would get home, and then I would just kind of like, dull out, and I realized I had to find a way to replenish, and I took a writing class. I did things I was interested in, as I mentioned, and I love to read. I love to read different subjects. So all of these things that make me feel good, or poetry. I very, very much enjoy poetry. And I've learned over the last few years how to keep myself elevated creatively, so that I'm doing the things that excite me and keep me turned on. And I think that's important for everybody. And whether you're an actor or not, is to have those things that make you feel good about yourself, and the friends that that make you feel good, and that you make them feel good, and all of that. I think it's very important. So,
Linda Margaret Berg asks, what made you want to do Love Lisa?
Love Liza?
Liza, sorry.
Gordy Hoffman's screenplay, and working with Philip, because I just think he's fabulous. I just, when you work with someone like him, or I don't think there is anybody like him, but he just, it's like, it's the bullshit meter. You can't, there's nothing you can do wrong. You have to be truthful with somebody like him, because he's so truthful and so honest, and I really wanted to work with him.
Great. Carolyn Chudini Cable asks, is it true that you have earned a PhD, and in what field is it?
SMU gave me an honoris doctor, whatever, honoris causa, as they call it, an honorary doctorate, and it's in theater arts. And so I went there last June and gave a speech, and it was lovely. And they actually,
what was that like?
Well, it was really very emotional, because they dedicated a rehearsal hall in the building to me with my name on it. And it was very, very emotional, and I loved that the way it's centered in the building is that you have to go down steps to get to it, which I really dug. I really like that. And it's also the same size as the Bob Hope Theater, which is upstairs, and it's beautiful, wooden floor and big black velvet curtains over a mirror wall, and it was really great. And it was a lot of my friends came. My friend John Arnone, who's a wonderful designer, we were walking down the hall. He said, "This is my locker. This is locker number 33." And so it was just great to go back and go through all of that.
Is it important to you to give back in some way?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I'm
not trying to sound corny about this.
I just worry that I get kind of, preachy and on a soapbox about stuff, and I worry about that because I'm just flying by the seat of my pants.
Wow.
So
great that you can just say that out loud.
What do you mean?
That you're just flying by the seat of your pants.
Ain't we all?
Because everybody thinks that,
Ain't we all?
Well, yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. Alan Polonsky asks, have you ever directed for the theater?
Yes, I did. I directed Night Mother in a production at Actors Theater of Louisville shortly after we closed in New York. So
You want to go back and do that
terrible.
again?
What?
No? Do you want to do more of that? Or?
Oh, I don't think so. It was excruciating. I just didn't, I'm too controlling. I think I am because, I'd go there and I'd watch and I'd just like, I'd sit back there and I was just like, ugh. It was really frustrating because I couldn't do anything. So I think that's why I like film directing. or acting on. I don't think I could be a director for the theater. I don't know. We'll try.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Okay, we've done that one. What advice do you have for women actors for sustaining our careers? And we kind of touched on this. It's tough for women.
For women actors sustaining our
Well,
careers?
I think they're talking about women over 30. Well, now it's men over 30 too are having a hard time getting work, I suppose. But
it's about time.
Yeah, well.
Why don't you all try it for a while and then tell us what you think? Tell us how you sustain it. I don't know. I've been really lucky and, I've worked a lot. So I've been trying to learn how to sustain life in between. So, and I think perhaps one needs to have a life and that will help balance out the other, Because you can get so nuts about this business and what's working and what's not working that you can just, shoot yourself in the foot. So.
Do you have a favorite film or a favorite role that you played that, as you look back over your career and you say, that was one I was really proud of, or this is one that really meant a lot to me? And
I think Dolores Claiborne I liked the best.
Yeah.
The movie that Columbia did not market. Anyway, I like that one because it was so much for me to do. And I mean, playing a woman at different ages in her life, and I worked with a movement coach and a vocal coach and wonderful makeup artists, and it was finally all the stuff that I had been trained to do in college, I got to do on film.
Yeah.
And that was really, really exciting for me. And I keep wanting to get back to that, to find those roles where you can really transform yourself into another human being. That's what I want to do. That's all. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so when those roles come along like that, it's great.
Yeah. We kind of touched on this before, but there's not a role that you've kind of like dying to get your teeth into?
I don't know. I mean, No, I used to think I wanted to do Greek theater, I wanted to play those big parts, like, I don't know, like Clytemnestra or something, but I don't think our society's ready for it.
I go, huh?
Or Hecuba or something like that, I guess that's because what I did when I was in school, and I just love the size of it, the operatic size of it, and the size of the emotions. But I don't think people are into that now. So I don't know what I would do.
But maybe a musical, we said, right?
Maybe musicals, but I just would like to play human beings. I don't want to be typed by my size or my sex or by anything else. I want to play human beings that are interesting and quirky and fun and people that I want to rush into their, inhabit them, those days that you're working and things that really get you excited. That's what I want to do, and it can be anything. It doesn't. I mean, if the thing itself, if the screenplay itself is wonderful, that's what I want to be in, something that, that's wonderful, that elevates the experience of being in the theater. And I've been very fortunate to have done a lot of those things. I mean, even though if they've not been critical successes or whatever, I look back on them and I think, I loved that. I'm glad that's there, and I had a good time doing that. And that means more than any award. What I'm finding is that when you look back over your career and you think, gee, I really love doing that. And you remember the people and you remember the moments and how you spent that portion of your time. And you feel good about spending your time, because that's the most valuable thing you can give, is your time. You know, and if you feel good that you spent that 6 months working on that, or that 2 years working on something, then that's great. And none of the gold or silver or anything else that they might throw at you really has anything to do with that. Yeah. Because that's where you live, is in those moments, you know, between action and cut, or between the, you know, pages of a script. That's where you want to live.
Mm-hmm. I read an interview that I think you gave fairly recently, and in that there was a story about a woman who stopped you on the street and told you that some of the roles that you had played had changed her life. Can you tell us you know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
I was actually at a beauty supply place, and I had gone in the back to talk to a woman who usually had done my nails, and I wanted to say hello to her, and there was another woman sitting there getting her hair done or something, and then I came back out to do some shopping, and this woman came out with her cape still on and her daughter behind her, and she was very emotional, and she had seen Dolores Claiborne, and she had been an abused wife, and she was very emotional that she had, I guess because of the experience of seeing the film, she had made changes in her own life, and that really scares the shit out of me when somebody does that, because you don't know. I mean, you know, she's got to be driving her car. You know, I mean, I can't, you know, be driving that car, and I'm very overwhelmed by that, and I certainly don't feel that it's me. It's the entire film experience and where it hit her in her life, where it intersected with her, and so I always just hugged her and you know, was present for her, and you don't want to, you know, jump up and down too much about that kind of thing, because it's you know, it's a delicate thing, and right. I mean, I remember way back when we did Night Mother, Marcia Norman, who wrote that beautiful play, shared a letter with us from a woman whose husband had committed suicide, and it happened 17 years before, and she had come to see the play, and she said she never knew why he had done this. Mm-hmm. And after having seen the play, she realized why, and she knew that it had nothing to do with her finally, and she could let it go. And that was my first taste with that, and rightly so, the letter was sent to Marcia. And I feel that okay, this morning, a producer called me who I'd done a film with last year, and her father had passed away a year and a half ago, and her mother has been visiting from Florida, and she said her mother and her husband were watching the DVD of About Schmidt, and her mother was laughing hysterically and sobbing, because this was, of course, about a man at the end of his life, and his wife passes away and everything. And Lynn didn't know how her mother was going to react to this. And it was the most wonderful thing, because she was able to release all of these emotions. And that's why I wanted to do Greek theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And I said to Lynn, I said, if that's all I need now, it's just one person. You know, it's just that one person that, you know, it's just let the floodgates open. And that's why we do what we do. That's why we're all so jazzed about it, you know. We want that to happen. And so I'm very grateful that I've experienced that, you know, in my life. But
there's so much power in this medium.
There is.
It's good to know that some people are using that power for good, not evil.
Well, yes.
At any rate, we're almost out of time here, and I just, you know, this group would love to hear just, are there, you know, any kind of practical pieces of advice that you can give folks? I mean, we have people on all different levels of their career, you know? What kinds of things that they could do to make it easier, make it better, make it richer? What is it?
This is something really silly that I've done ever since I was a child. I read aloud.
Book pals! Book pals!
I read aloud every night And I read sometimes in different accents. Sometimes they're terrible, but I don't care. I read anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even know what the accent is. Or sometimes I'll just try to. Lately, I've been trying to just read in my voice and not it be phony, you know, that kind of thing. And I've just always read aloud, and I don't know why, but I think that really helps with cold readings, and it helps with. Lately, I've been doing a little bit of voiceover stuff. It helps with that. And it just gives you kind of a confidence with the written word that you might not otherwise have. It just warms it up for you. And so that I do.
That's
and I don't know, I've always loved it. I love the written word and transformed into the spoken word. And you just know if you're reading a particular novel, something that just cries out to be spoken. So that's what I do. And I do enjoy yoga, even though it doesn't transform one into a size 5. But I do enjoy moving, and I do enjoy swimming. I do enjoy physicality and practical things.
You know, all of this is practical, I think.
Choose to be joyous.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm Irish. My middle name is Doyle, and J.T. Walsh, I don't know if any of you remember what a wonderful actor he is. But we used to laugh because I think there was a quote from Yeats. I'm not sure if it's Yeats or whatever, but J.T. was the one who introduced me to it. He said, being Irish, he had an abiding sense of tragedy, which sustained him even through moments of temporary joy. Well, that's me to a T, baby. And so in the last, I just realized, you can make a choice to embark upon each day with joy and with an open heart and with, trust, or you can carry along the baggage of bitterness and resentment and all that, which just, makes you miserable and doesn't really affect anybody else. So, you're busy hating while that person's on vacation, basically. So, just wise up, have a good time, is what I figure out, because you don't know how much longer any of us have got.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
Okay.
This has been wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Todd.
Our pleasure to have you.